From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. Hey yo, heart of a villain beats hard in the centrifuge. Bearded BP, 100 interviews. All it takes is 2 mics and 1 line. This is Bearded Villains podcast worldwide. Driving cross countries, getting ball tires. Fam across ponds, always inspired. Chapters connect, and then it's on fire. Check your filters, BV is like a live wire. They said that we couldn't do it and that another could. Never underestimate the power of brotherhood. Every bro, every chapter, every caption. Heart of a villain, bro, lights, camera, action. Action, action, action. Let's go. BP. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain.
Hello, everybody. It is the heart of a villain. I'm not even used to this new countdown clock I've got going on here. Guys, happy Thursday night. It is the 2nd of March, already into March 2023. What a night we have going. Oh, looks like I've got some, there we go. I had a delay going on there. Guys, so you know what? This is going to be a little disappointing for some of you, and some of you could care less, and that's great. We're just going to sit here and chit-chat. But here's the deal. As you know, I've been going through a little bit of a kind of a redo here in the studio, and also with the show, with the program. Some of the things look a little different. I'm not sure I don't like this lens yet on this one. I want to go back to my other lens that I've been using for recently. So I'm still going through some growing pains here, as we are with episode 169. As you go through these types of things, you want to change some things up occasionally, and I'm still not happy with the way things are going. But as a growing pain issue, I guess to say, updates in software, updates in other things that I've got going on here, sometimes things, without me knowing it, don't quite jive like they're supposed to. Now, many of you guys, I've said before, I got a new soundboard probably about 3 months ago, and I thought I had all the kinks worked out in that thing, the way that it works with my system, but apparently it decided to revert back to its old way, and I didn't have the backup routing set up on the streaming software when I record the interview. Long story short, my whole interview with Danner for this week, where we're talking about NashVegas. We talked for like 35 minutes. Really fun interview. The entire video part of the interview sounds like he's talking with 3 different microphones set on 3 different settings with ultimate delay. And I have no idea. It's stupid. There shouldn't be a reason that did that, because when we were talking naturally, when we were doing the interview, it did not sound like that. Played back the audio, or played back the interview when I was setting it up for tonight, and it's destroyed. It's terrible. It's not even audio. You can't even listen to it. I sound like you hear me now, and then every time he speaks, it's, like I said, in an absolute echo chamber. So I checked the audio that is on my soundboard from that interview, because I double record when I do that. The audio on that is fine. So the audio that will be able to be ported over for the podcast, for the audio podcast, sounds great. And I'm going to port that over here tonight. So it'll sound like to the normal podcast platform, it's going to sound like normal, the interview will. And the fact that you're hearing me mention it right now is the only time that those of you that are going to be listening on the standard podcast platform will know that something was up. So when we get to that part, you won't even notice. No, it did not sound like the speaker box at the drive-thru. Although I do have a setting for that one where I can make it sound like that if I really want to. Yeah, welcome to McDonald's. What would you like? No, I'm not using that. But here's the thing. NashVegas is this week, and I'm going to talk a little bit about NashVegas. I'm going to talk about a few other things, and we're just going to say see you and have a great Thursday night. I apologize. Many of you loyal listeners and viewers, especially here, who are used to watching us on a Thursday night are aware that the last probably 6 weeks of these shows have been just dreadful or all over the place. And I apologize for that, but I don't, because like I said, growing pains, we're trying new things out. Sometimes they don't work. And sometimes you don't know that it doesn't work until you try it. And then so I'm going to have to go through a couple of, I'm going to have to go through a couple of sample recordings just to make sure and see if it works out as I do things. But rest assured, episode 170, by 170 next week, them bugs will be worked out. We are going to be back to our old professional way of doing things by next week for episode 170, because we're going to have NashVegas to talk about. We're going to have some other upcoming events to talk about and all sorts of other good stuff. We got chapters out there doing some really cool charity works. I love to see it. I know that we just had one of our East Coast chapters doing some work out on the roadway, cleaning up their roadway. There are several chapters I've noticed that are over on the East Coast that have areas of a highway where they do highway cleanups, and that's very cool. We don't see too much of that here in the Midwest, but I know it's available, so it's an option for us if we have the manpower to do it. But we've been focusing our efforts on other things right now. But kudos to you guys out on the East Coast for doing that kind of stuff. And kudos, big shout out to the First Coast Villains also for this past week. I found it this past week. I don't know if it's a week or two old, but they were able to get with a guy that's a construction guy to help lead them in the tearing down and then putting back up of a brand new fence for a family with a sick child. Very cool stuff. Excuse me. Anytime we get a chance to do the sweat equity, where we're actually out, boots on the ground, as we always say, any chance you get to do that kind of stuff, it feels better. It feels like it means more. At least it does, internally to me. Sometimes for some organizations, you can't do those kinds of things. And I understand that. And we've all made the donations to those organizations as well that are financial. But anytime you get a chance to do something really cool to get your guys out there in the environment, in the actual city, county, wherever you're at, and change some lives, it's a really powerful, really cool thing. So I don't really know how to transition to anything else right now other than just to say, well, let's do this. And now let's hear our interview from Danner down with the 3-Star Villains talking about NashVegas. Okay, and that's where I'm going to edit that in for the podcast platform. So all this stuff I'm saying right now, that's going to be completely edited out if you're listening to a standard podcast for that. So from here on out, we're just gonna fly by the seat of our pants, pretending that we're just we're doing a live stream here. And so anybody that is here live, I'm going to mention you guys here because there's a handful of you guys. I do appreciate you guys for taking some time out on a Thursday night. But those of you who are here, really cool, really awesome. Great to see you guys in here. And I know that many of us will talk during the week in a variety of different video platforms or other things. That's awesome to see as well. But we'll get into some of the details for NashVegas that I do have, that I listened to Danner talk to me about for this past week. And we'll get in those in just a second. Okay, so I want to say hi and big happy shout outs to Mars. Mars is hanging out with us here. He says, let's go. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to switch this. I'm going to move this around here now that I have to do this live because I can't do it when the things are on. There we go. Now we're going to put that in the middle of the screen. All right. He says, let's go. He also says, what's up? Veteran to Valhalla. As you know, I try not to use, if it's your real name, I use your real name if I have it. And but I don't like to do the math in my head about who's who. So what's up, guys? Buddy says, evening, gentlemen. Yeah, Block's in here as well. Yo, yo, yo. Good to see Block in here. I said earlier in the chat before we went live, don't be too disappointed with tonight's show. And of course, Mars fires back. Don't worry, BP. We're used to being disappointed. I love that. Yes, and I do apologize for that as well. So sorry. Rob, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you here as well. And let's see if there's anybody else that's chimed in real quick. Oh, there we go. We've also let me get rid of Rob's comment here. All right, he says, yeah, life's been crazy. Been a while. We've got Rob Rubaba saying, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Looking forward to seeing Mr. Rubaba when he comes back over here stateside in a few weeks. Looking forward to that. And, I'm just saying what I'm saying, but, maybe one day soon we might see some people here live in studio. I'm just saying. Maybe it might happen. If you guys ever travel through northern Indiana, if you come into Chicago to hang out, if you're coming up for our event in October, I'd love to have you sneak over here to the studio, and we can either do live stream, do a recorded video, recorded interview. If it's the Thursday night before the event and you're going to come hang out with us for the whole weekend, you want to come into town on Thursday night, you can just sit over here on the couch. We'll put a mic in front of you, throw some lights on you as well, and you can be a guest co-host with me for the night for the episode. We'll do whatever, man. Good times. Love to have people down here in the cave, down here in the studio, the basement studio. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll hang out. We'll hang out for sure. Okay, guys. So this weekend is NashVegas in Nashville, Tennessee. The annual tradition. It's the 7th one of these things already. 7 years of this thing. I've been to so many of them. I can't even remember how many. I know it's not been more than 5, but I guess so. Subtract that statement. But I've been to a lot of them, and it's funny because as I told Danner in the interview when we were talking, I said every year this thing seems to get a little bit bigger, a little bit better in some way, shape, or form. And I asked him, what kind of a pressure does that feel like it puts on you guys? Because many of you, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but 3-Star Villains in Tennessee have had a lot in the last year and a half. They've had a lot of transitions as far as their leadership goes. And they've, not in a bad way, but just life happens. And so you've got guys that were in positions that stepped back and then had to step back in to positions. And you've got a lot of movement going on. And it's really cool when guys just jump over and say, let's go, let's do this thing and tackle everything that needs to be done. And that's what they've got right now. They've got a strong group of guys down there that are really excited about this week's event. And the things that he told me, that he described to me about, what they're doing, they're keeping it at the same location for the main event. They're keeping the meet and greet at the same location they had last year. And I got to tell you, if you've never been, and I hope that they continue this tradition for these two places. And apparently they have very good relationships with both the meet and greet location for tomorrow night and for the main event. So hopefully, moving forward, if you've not been to NashVegas, you have got to come hang out because number one, Nashville is just an incredible city, and you're not ever going to want for anything there. There's always going to be something to do. If you want to go out and stay out on the town until the wee hours of the morning, you can definitely do that in Nashville. If you want to go hang out for a while and then close down the first bar but not stay out till 2 a.m., go back to your hotel or go someplace else to find something to eat and just relax. You can do that too. There's all sorts of different museums and different, just anything you can possibly imagine there in Nashville. So, number one, it's an awesome city. But the cool thing is that they have it set up for a very cool meet and greet location. And so the meet and greet location, if you didn't know, is a place called the Game Terminal. And it's in an industrial park. You have to kind of go down these janky roads to get there. If they haven't paved it since last year, it feels kind of like it's beating the hell out of your car a little bit getting back there. But once you get there, you open up into this beautiful, looks like an old factory that they've completely redone, and it's huge. And they've got swirly lights going on, all sorts of that cool stuff. And you get inside there, and it's exactly what it sounds like, a game terminal. It is dozens and dozens of pinball machines, dozens and dozens of old stand-up arcade machines. You can just play them all night. And stuff's like, it's just walk up to it and go. There's no coin operation stuff going on there or anything. It's awesome. So it's, very, very cool stuff. The pinball machines, there's guys that just sit there and play those things for free for hours and hours and hours. But it's just such a cool place, and it takes you back. If you're a child of like the 70s, especially the 80s when arcades were huge, but like me, and you walk around that place, and I remember last year, I only played a couple of the games, but you walk around this place, and you're just like, holy cow, instant just takes you right back. And you're like, you forgot about that game. I forgot about this game. And because the games today, they take all that old fun out of it. The all the bits and the pixelated characters and, when you're playing Galaga, it's not a first-person shooter. You're trying to maneuver this janky ship around on this platform, and it's all these old school video games are right there for you to play. If you're a pinball wizard, you love to do the pinball. That's great too. They've got all that. They got a bar set up. It's family friendly until 9 o'clock. So if you want to bring the kids, come and bring the kids. Once 9 o'clock hits, you got to, exit out with the kids. Now, they've set this up so that it's going to be from 5 to 9 o'clock tomorrow. So it officially ends at 9 o'clock. That's when their guys are done working it. But it typically goes on. It goes on a little bit longer. They will stay. You're welcome to stay as long as you want to. The place doesn't close down at 9, but the kids have to be out at 9, and so they have it set that way so that if anybody that is a villain that has to take their kids out or whatever else, they're not going to miss out by doing that. So that's pretty cool. But you can stay as long as you want to. And last year, I remember there were a bunch of people that stayed much into the way into the evening. But the other cool thing about it is, even if the video game stuff doesn't interest you, even if you just want to grab some drinks and just sit down and chill, they've got so much seating. They've got tabletop seating. They've got couches. They've got the round couches. They've got all sorts of amazing seating within the arcade area. But then you step outside these huge double doors, and then you walk out. There's this enormous outdoor platform area that's like a whole different world. And they've got patio heaters and all sorts of stuff there for you to sit there and just chill and just talk and have a great time. Sorry, I forgot my drink. So I don't have a drink down here with me tonight, so hopefully I don't get too froggy. But it's just such a cool place. And very happy that they found that. Very happy that they have such a great rapport and great relationship with the people there at the game terminal. Hopefully that is a place that stays on board for a while with them. Shout out to Mr. Dave Ramsey. How you doing, Dave? Good to see you here. Excuse me. And so, yeah, that's the game terminal, and that's Friday night. Now, I know on Friday night, they're also going to have plans to probably, if you want to go downtown any place else, they'll just start going hanging out any place. I'm sure they'll just wallow around. But officially, then the flag shoot is Saturday. Now, hopefully everybody's going to be able to partake responsibly. And one of the things I laughed at, one of the things that Danner mentions in the interview, he reminds everybody, this weekend is a marathon, not a sprint. This weekend is a marathon, not a sprint. So what that reminds you of is that, okay, go out, have a great time Friday, but remember, you're going to have to, they don't have the flag shoot set up super early. And this is a flag shoot. NashVegas is a flag shoot you want to be at. Sometimes guys will skip the flag shoots at some of the bigger events, but NashVegas, they do it at the Centennial Plaza, and it's a very cool like amphitheater feel to it. And we always get amazing pictures there. And then you can do your group shots and all that other stuff there. It's a great backdrop for that. But that's at noon. So they don't do it early in the morning, but they give you until noon. And they want to start that thing off at noon. So get there. Don't be that late guy because, as he said, I'm gonna see if we hold this to him this year. Because in years past, we always say flag shoot's going to be at noon, and then it takes a little longer. And you start taking pictures maybe at 12:30, 12:45, that kind of thing if it starts at noon. I know no disrespect to anybody that organized the flag shoot at the East Coast meet, but I know at the East Coast meet this past year, there were a bunch of us just standing around waiting. And I think we were just waiting for a handful of people that just didn't show up on time or what. I don't know what the deal was. I just know there were a bunch of people that were upset and just waiting for no reason. And it seemed to very, very long. So Danner has said that hey, if you're not there, nobody's gonna be waiting around for you. If you're on the phone saying, I'm 20 minutes out, they're not gonna wait for you. You're gonna miss out. So get there. Let's hold it to them. Let's see if we can hold them to their word there, and if they get this thing done, because they need to get back out, because the event is at 3. I believe the event starts at 3:00 at Yeehaw Brewing Company. Yeehaw Brewing Company is another cool place to be at. They've had this place for a few years for this event. The last year pre-COVID, we did it all outdoors. And anybody that was at that thing, it was a very, very cool environment. Everybody was spread out outdoors in this patio area. You would think that it was cramped, but it really wasn't. It just got a little cold. Okay, it got very cold for a lot of people. They had fires going, and you were still bundled up next to a fire and blankets and everything else, and everybody was cold. There were people that really didn't want to, but went into the actual bar, into their gift shop, and bought sweatshirts that night just because they didn't expect it to be so cold. So last year, the return to Yeehaw, it was really cool because now it was in an indoor stage inside the bar, and you're mingling with people that are regular patrons at the bar that don't know anything about Bearded Villains. They don't know anything about what a beard. They've never, most of them probably never been to a beard competition at all. They just going out for a Saturday night, and they decide to go to Yeehaw for the night. And they go in there midway through the day, and they're hanging out, and all of a sudden there's all these bearded guys taking the place over. And it was such a cool environment last year because I ran into a foursome of ladies from Indiana that were there celebrating. I think it was like a bridal shower or something, an engagement or something. But they were there, and they lived just a couple hours away from where I do, and it was just funny to find that. They said, "You guys are from Indiana. What do you do?" So they got a firsthand introduction to what Bearded Villains are all about. And there were so many other people that had stories like that there that night, that they just were going for a night out in the town or just to go hang out at the bar. And they ended up hanging out and staying, a lot of them, just to see what a beard competition was, what this thing was about, what we were doing. And it was very, very fun to see people's reaction, and a lot of people. And as a matter of fact, in my interview with Danner, this was really funny. And in my interview with Danner, he mentioned that there was a family, I think it was a family of 2 or 3, that sat down right up where the stage was, right up front by the stage. And this was before anything was set up really for the event. They were already there, sitting down, drinking. They were going to get something to eat, that kind of thing. They're just chilling. Then the Tennessee guys show up and start setting things up, and they're like, "What's going on?" And now they're front row, basically near this stage, and they tell them what they're there for. And they had such a great time. They stayed much later than they planned on staying. They watched the whole event. They had such a great time. They actually reached out. This was hysterical. They actually reached out to find out if this weekend they were going to be back again doing the same thing because they wanted to come back. How cool is that? People that are unaffiliated with Bearded Villains at all had such a great time at NashVegas at the beard competition. They just wanted to come back and watch it again and have another good time. Hey, I think that's badass. That is awesome. So that's at Yeehaw Brewing Company. Now, I will say a couple of, I guess, warnings, maybe reminders, or I don't know what it would be, cautionary tales to anybody that is going. If you plan on drinking adult beverages, keep in mind that there are a lot of people at this place. It's huge if you've never been there before. Even if you have been there before, remember this, because you found out last year, but you've probably forgotten in the years since. Get there early. So get there as close to 3 o'clock as you can. Why? Because anybody that's been there last year remembers the line of people for the bar. And actually, they had 2 lines on each side of the bar. And they had a handful of bartenders running like chickens with their head cut off, trying to jump back and forth. The bar was very busy. The bartenders were working their tails off. And that, in addition to somebody working from the same bar, the outside window to the outside patio. So lots of different options out there. But that, from about an hour into the event, if not sooner, we had that each one of the lines for the bar were at least 40 deep, I want to say. Probably at least 40 deep. And it pretty well stayed like that through much of the night. So here's your cautionary tale. Here's your planning ahead moment here for you. Do what I did. I saw this. I saw the writing on the wall last year. I saw the lines getting big. I saw the crowd growing. And so I said, well, old BP's going to go get me a drink. But I got more than a drink. I got me 2 pitchers. And thankfully, I was at a table of people. I say thankfully. Nobody wanted to drink the beer that I wanted to drink. I asked everybody everybody already had their drinks. And I said, anybody else like to drink IPAs? And nobody at the table that I was drinking wanted IPAs. I was like, all right, fine. So I went and got 2 big pitchers filled up with IPAs and brought them back to the table. And they ended up being my personal pitchers for the night. And I didn't have to get back in that line. So every time you go up, get a pitcher or 2 at least. Get at least a pitcher or 2. Because you'll save yourself the hassle of standing in the line for another 25 minutes just for a drink. Just a thought. Just a thought. To the point where they actually were running out of pitchers. They were walking around grabbing almost empty pitchers to people so they could use more pitchers. But maybe they got some more pitchers in the next year. We'll see. So that's it. And then what we're going to do, what he mentioned was, what Danner mentioned was the event ends, I believe, at like, I can't remember exactly when it was, 9, 10 o'clock, something like that, when it ends. But then there's an additional location that they're going to offer up to go hang out at, another bar. I think he called it Loser's Bar, and it's another place they've gone to before to hang out. There is at some point going to be, if you've been to NashVegas and you've hung out on the event night into the wee hours before, you're familiar with the photograph that is always taken at a certain location in Nashville on a city street where they basically go out into the middle of the street, take it over, and it's just a whole bunch of people standing on the street, blocking traffic, taking a picture. It's always a very classic picture. It's always a very fun picture to see and look back on who stayed out, who were the people that were the hardcore party people, right? Who was staying out till the late hours, number one. Number two, you can look back and see how hammered some of these people were just by the picture alone. It's always a classic picture and very fun to see. So they will be doing that again. They will be reliving that picture and doing that again on Tuesday. Wow. On Saturday night, but it will be Sunday morning when that happens because it's probably somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m. when that thing happens. So if you want to stay out, more power to you. And that's NashVegas, guys. That's NashVegas in a nutshell. It's going to be remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. A marathon, not a sprint. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. I want to also give a shout out here live to a brother of mine from Northern Indiana saying, hello, Mr. Dahlstrom. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you here. Hanging out with us as well. So, yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to talk about right now, guys. If anybody in the comments section here live wants to mention anything going on in the world, I just have one more topic to cover, and it's going to be really short. So I'll jump into that, and then we'll see if anybody has any fun topics to talk about that we can continue with live. One thing I wanted to say that's come up in the last few weeks, there's been a lot of talk in our chats lately, in our villain chats, about whether or not these people, this segment of people, this grouping of people is pulling their weight or doing their own thing and whatever else. And the one thing I will say is I would like us to focus on us. Focus on what you do. Focus on what your chapter does. Try to take this in a positive mindset, guys. Let us all focus on what you do for your community, for your chapter, what your chapter's doing, what all of us are doing. Let's focus internally. What are we doing? Rather than focusing on what others are not doing. Don't take it to the negative, and don't even waste your time. It's not worth it. The amount of energy that we put towards complaining about other people it's immense. It's immeasurable, really. A lot of times we spend so much energy and so much time blaming and or criticizing what others are not doing. It takes away from the efforts that we need to put our efforts. So I would love for us to focus more on the positivity. Focus on what you need to do. Focus on what you and your chapter can do, rather than what somebody or some other chapter or some other people are not doing. They may not have the same goals, the same agendas that you do, and that's fine. But let them do their thing, or let them fail to do their thing, and that's great. You can lift others up. You can try to be a positive role model for them. You can try to show them, hey, this is what we can do. Hey, this is what we do, if people ask. Or if you want to give, an unasked for opinion, go for it. This is what we do with our chapter. This is what we do. This is how we roll. This is why I think that our guys are very interested and very successful. This is why we do these things. This is how we've been successful in this. And that's the positive message that I want us all to take, is that there are several chapters out here that we all know, many of us know who the chapters are that are always working, it seems like. And it's not that they're better, but maybe it's that they've figured something out that other chapters maybe haven't. And maybe it's specific to their area, maybe it's not. Who knows? But if you are in one of those chapters, if you feel like you're in one of those chapters that is a leader, that is kind of doing things that others aren't doing, be willing to share that knowledge. Be willing to step out and say, anybody asks, I'm here for you. Anybody asks, I'm here to tell you this is what we do. These are the steps that we take to do these type of things. If we wanted to do an event, this is the steps we take. Because there's chapters out there that have tried and failed. There's chapters that have not been nearly as successful. If there's tricks of the trade, be willing to share those with other guys. If there's some kind of a magic secret sauce that you've got that has worked really well for you and potentially could work really well somewhere else, let's not keep it a secret. Let's try to share that knowledge so that other chapters can be just as successful, if they choose to be. That's the key. If they choose to be. A lot of times we try to impart our desires, we try to impart our dreams, our goals, our wishes on others. All you can do is explain to them, this is what we do, this is how we roll. And if you are interested in what we do, I can give you advice. But I want us to get out of this thing that we have, this mindset where we spend so much time criticizing. We spend so much energy criticizing how people do things. And in the end, it matters not to you at all. How somebody else handles their life, how somebody else handles their chapter has zero effect on you whatsoever. It has zero effect on how you're going to be able to operate your chapter. It has zero effect on all the successes that you're going to have with your chapter. So bring it home, do you, focus on you, and be there for others that want to be a part of that positivity. But if there's going to be a chapter that's going to fail because of the negativity, if there's going to be a chapter that doesn't want to grow, then there's nothing you can do for them. They've got to want it themselves. They've got to want it. And if they don't want it, all we can do is offer our hope, offer our services, offer our advice the best that we can, but it's got to be up to them. And again, for those that spend all this time being hypercritical of anyone, and I know when I'm saying this, people are going to immediately think that I'm speaking specifically about one person, but I'm not. There are a bunch of people within BV, and you can even push it out into the larger scale of things in life. Being critical and spending all that energy complaining about other people and how they do things, or how that's not how I would do things, it's a waste of energy and it's a waste of time. So my best advice tonight would be to look inside, focus on you, focus on your chapter, and spend that time to say, what more can we do? What can we do? How can we improve? How can we do more for our community? If you're a leader of a chapter, how can I do more for my chapter? Remember, it's not your chapter doesn't work for you. You work for the chapter. If you're in a leadership role for your chapter, it's work. And you work for them. It should be viewed that way. It's not what have they done for me. If that's the way you're looking at it, then it's all wrong. But what can we do more? How can we better our community? How can we better our brotherhood? How can we better our chapter? That's where we need to go. That's what we need to focus on. So that's where I'm at, guys. That's where I'm at. And I hope some of that made some sense, but if it didn't, I completely understand. But hey, you know what that is? That's going to wrap it up. It's going to wrap up episode 169 of The Heart of a Villain, guys. I thank you so much for being here tonight on this Thursday night. It is the 2nd of March already, and guys, we're going to be 2 weeks into March when we come back. This year is floating around. If you've got bad weather coming in, and I know some people do, be safe. Be careful out there. I look forward to seeing you guys back here for a much more normal version of this here show next week for episode 170. Wow. Hey, guys. Remember, I always tell you this. Remember the magic words. It's okay not to be okay. If you are hurting, please find a brother to talk to. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. Well, guys, For now, have a great rest of this night. Enjoy the weekend. If you're traveling to NashVegas, travel safely there and back. Be smart. Have fun. See you back here next week for 170. Take care. Stay safe, guys.
From the start to the finish, go hard, and we winning is the heart.